Hey guys, I'm Max Copper. I'm in a group with Johnny Hagedorn, Max Grigoriev, George Lund, and Alex Johnson, and our presentation is on The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Now, before we start talking about Cormac McCarthy's famous novel, The Road, let's first learn a little bit about the man. Cormac McCarthy was born in the middle of the Depression in 1933. He grew up into a religious family in Knoxville, Tennessee. From a young age, Cormac McCarthy had a disdain from school, instead of trying to focus his energy on hobbies such as writing. After dropping out of college, Cormac McCarthy went into the armed forces where he was in the Air Force. Afterwards, he became a writer and was able to secure a couple grants to help with his work. Having initially succeeded with his writing, he was able to move to the Southwest, where he was heavily influenced by the culture and history of the region in his works. This is reflected in many of his books, who have characters who are from the South or are completely set in the South. Throughout all of his works, McCarthy tries to focus on themes such as morality and the role of God and fate in the world. He also takes a very fatalistic approach when it comes to human nature, painting human morality as something that is very, very bleak and self-serving. McCarthy can best be described as a pessimist when it comes to his view on the world. For his 2006 novel, The Road, McCarthy was heavily influenced by his relationship with his son, and he wanted to explore the paternalistic bonds between father and son and how it would relate to morality and the nature of man. Religious elements such as those relating to God also come up in the novel. This is reflective of McCarthy's upbringing as an Irish Catholic in Knoxville, Tennessee. McCarthy's religious upbringing is also explored in the novel, as he asks questions relating to God, fate, and the nature of man. These questions and themes aren't exclusive to McCarthy's works. They're also found heavily in the postmodernist movement.
So I'm here to talk about what The Road is, exactly. Well, The Road is a novel written by Cormac McCarthy that involves the journey of a father and a son in a post-apocalyptic world littered with ideas of violence, survival, fear, death, above all, morals. In a bleak, lifeless world, the duo are in search for some kind of hope or civilization where they can live the rest of their lives with some form of happiness. The themes that the reader encounters in the novel force oneself to question their morality, and if what they believe to be just is really true. It takes on ideas of survival, love, and morals in a way that coerces the audience to ask themselves, what defines right versus wrong? A specific example of this perception of evil can be seen when the narrator states, "The men poured gasoline on them and burned them alive, having no remedy for evil but only for the image of it as they conceived it to be," said on page 188. The author brings into question the perception of good versus evil, and how one's views might be twisted in that sense. These diverse views of reality could be rooted from things like family and religion, and force one to question how their morals were formulated. And the narrator presents this idea in the following quote, like, "You mean the good guys? Or anybody that you wanted to know where you were? Like God?" Yeah, maybe something like that. Said on page 246. In discussion with these ideas, such as family and religion, depicting one's morals, twisted or not, the decision-making of the father reflects on the son with both positive and negative outcomes and forces the final question, how does family and religion depict one's morals?
So what is postmodernism? Postmodernism is a movement where writers illustrated their work with fragmentation and decline of society after World War II. Starting in the 1950s, postmodernism was a movement involving not only literature, but also art, theater, movies, and other media forms. To be completely honest, many writers and artists have not even figured out when the end of the postmodern era was. Maybe it is still alive today. If we look at it through one specific lens, postmodernism revolves around one main idea, that there are no universal truths. In postmodernism ideology, religion is not real, God is not real. In a quote by Zavada in an article, it says, "In postmodernism, all religion, including Christianity, is reduced to the level of opinion. In postmodernist views, religion is anything from rites of passage like weddings and funerals, regular worship services, prayer meetings, meditation sessions, retreats, to rituals of everyday life. These include cooking, cleaning, and working." In contrast, McCarthy presents religion as an escape from this post-apocalyptic suffering in this novel, The Road. He alludes to religious texts such as the Bible throughout the novel. If universal ideas such as religion are dismissed in postmodernism, why does McCarthy incorporate it into the novel? Firstly, McCarthy comes from a religious background, which means he could have incorporated it to show the importance of it, ultimately contradicting the postmodernism view. Secondly, McCarthy uses religion as a motivational factor for survival, rather than traditional faith. Finally, he elegantly interlaces faith in God with trust in people to develop the inner strength in critical situations.
But why is Cormac McCarthy's The Road such a quintessential piece of postmodernist literature? Well, let me tell you. Most postmodern stories have one of the following traits. The first being, it indirectly challenges society through its art. Secondly, most postmodern stories give a dark and despair type feel. These feelings are often representations of the author's feelings. Thirdly, most postmodern stories don't have one central theme or idea, but rather multiple themes and multiple ideas they are trying to address. The fourth and most important aspect about postmodernist literature is that most postmodernist literature breaks the established rules about style. The Road follows all four of the mentioned aspects, whereas most other postmodernist literature follow maybe one or two of the mentioned aspects. This means that The Road breaks even the established rules about postmodernist style, which is why it is a leader in postmodernist literature.
In conclusion, Cormac McCarthy's The Road, which was inspired by a postmodernist era, really revolutionized and set the standard for postmodernism in novels. Even when others criticized postmodernism for being meaningless, that it wouldn't be possible to live in the scenarios that were being created at the time, Cormac still believed in what he was writing. He didn't follow previous examples when it came to storytelling and used themes within the compound of his writing. While on the surface it may just seem like another post-apocalyptic story, this book in particular is way more than that. It dives deep into environmental problems on the planet and what is to come, while ignoring the cliche of what happened and these personal relationships with their characters. It doesn't want you to focus 100% on the characters, as we partly ignore their backstories and their names and their religion, but most importantly, it focuses on what a post-apocalyptic life could create for any person, what morals are bent, what kind of suffering you must endure to get yourself to wake up in the morning and want to survive and live your life. This is what Cormac creates within the confines of The Road. Something new, something different that challenges modern society, that really makes you think.